Yeah, bloody thing. Guys, welcome back to another episode of 0 to 60. In fact, it is a birthday edition of 0 to 60, and I've got to say, I'm feeling the love. I'm feeling so much love, I feel like embarrassing myself. Just for a bit of fun, let me know in the comment section below how old you guys think I am. I know we've got a reasonable following, and I read all the comments, and I know sometimes people think I'm quite old, and sometimes people think I'm quite young. I'm curious to see what the average is below. Let me know below. Moving forwards, we're coming to the end of an era with this car, and a little bit of, I guess, YouTube maintenance that I want to get out of the way. This is my, you can't really see it here, but it is my E92 Coupe. It's the car that really helped 0 to 60 grow into what it is today. It's the one that I've been modifying since late 2019. It's the one that got the Chinese turbo, and I know that's when a lot of guys started following us. And things are changing big time. So we've gotten rid of the China turbos. We're now running the JMC equal length manifold single turbo kit, which just sounds incredible. I cannot wait to get this whole setup dialed in, making some big boy boost and making some big boy noises. The other side of tuning an N54 and keeping things super simple, you need boost and you need fuel. So a lot of people will realize an N54 is, well, I think it was the first direct injected BMW turbo motor. I think the Rolls-Royce engine and the 760s of the era were also direct injected, but naturally aspirated. Direct injection is great for emissions. It's great for emissions. I don't like direct injection, and I don't know anyone that's got a powerful engine that likes direct injection. And I mean like 150 sort of horsepower per cylinder, those sort of numbers. They always use port injection. So it seemed to make sense to me when it come to making this thing have some decent power, even with the asthmatic little 17Ts. Yes, I'm now calling them asthmatic. We wanted to go port injection. So I ended up picking it up secondhand. I think it was on eBay at the time, and it was around 900 Australian dollars for a port injection plate. It did come with injectors, but there was an issue with those injectors, if I remember correctly. But it was a port injection plate, the whole wiring setup, and a JB4 port injection controller. So 900 bucks for a fuel system that should be 600 horsepower capable. Unfortunately, when I got it, I did have to replace the injectors. I ended up putting in Bosch 500cc injectors from an LSA, and that has basically been in this car since early 2020, and it works. It works really well. No actual issues with it, but I'm looking forward to what we've got just around the corner and telling you about it and basically the advantages of what the newer technology can do. But yeah, it's time to ditch the JB4. End of an era. All right, so in regards to the comment at the start of this video where I said I'm feeling the love, I've got to have a shout out. I made a comment a couple of weeks ago saying I wanted a turbo spark blow-off valve. The one that we had here was from O'Reilly. However, somebody went and bought me a turbo spark blow-off valve. Thank you very much. You know who you are. I do appreciate it. On this side, I actually bought this. I think I bought that manifold when we first moved into this place, so nearly 2 years ago. I'd always planned to go to a port injection manifold. I've had it sitting in the container out the front the whole time, and I've just never had a chance to, well, I've never needed to set it up. This thing's just worked. It just keeps working. I had no reason to change it. I had no leaks. I had no issues. I was sort of hesitant with the port injection rail about the O-rings leaking when I installed it. I remember mentioning on a video, I was expecting to have problems, but it just keeps working. So I've just left it in there. But we are now going to a full aluminium port injection manifold, and it's really just a copy of the factory manifold, slightly different runner lengths. From what I understand, these will make a little bit more power over that sort of 700 horsepower than a factory manifold will. So hopefully we will make use of it. I have upgraded from my 500cc injectors. I've got these Bosch 731cc's. I went this route because, according to Ken from Wedge Tuning, I don't need to go 1000cc's. And with the sequential injection that we're going to get from the Reflex, these are going to be more than adequate, and they're also cheap. I think they're about $80 each, and they're genuine Bosch, resold through Aeroflow. But this is the thing that I loved the sales pitch. I read all the posts where people were disappointed with them, and then talking to Ken, man, I'm getting excited about running this Reflex. A little background as well. Ken from Wedge Tuning. I've been aware of Ken since I got the car, but Ken come on as a 0 to 60 member, I think August last year. He is a paid member. He's in our little group chat. He helps all of us out, and he is just a wealth of knowledge. He's been messing around with these things for nearly 10 years now. I think he's got data on 8,000 tuned N54s, which is kind of what you would expect when you're the guy that does the MHD maps. Something that's been great with Ken and talking with Ken on a social level, he knows all the little niggly things that the other tuners don't know, because he basically helped develop MHD. He's been in my ear about going to a reflex for a little while. I told him I just can't afford to do it at this point in time, and he said, Andrew, you are killing yourself by not running this single turbo on a reflex. Let me send you one. So Ken, please everyone thank him down below. He has actually paid for this reflex for me. And make no mistake, they're not cheap, but he has assured me it is worth every single cent, even if I was paying for it. Something that I wanted to have a bit of an understanding for, so this actually arrived about 2 weeks ago, and it did actually come in almost like Apple-style packaging, but I've been opening up, checking all the wiring, and making sure I understand how we're going to wire it in and what it's going to do. Something I wanted to show you guys. So the reflex, how do we talk about it so that you know? So port injection controllers. You've got the JB4 port injection, which is basically a tweaked version of the AIC. And from what I can understand, it looks like they've taken an AIC, added an input that comes from the JB4 to give it sort of the ability to tune it on the fly with the JB4. Something that I've really liked about the JB4 setup is that I could adjust port injection through the JB4 app. So if I wanted to pump more fuel through the injectors, I could make that adjustment in a few seconds. I didn't need to flash it with a laptop like you do with the AIC. The AIC is what we're running on the Flomax car. It's what was running on O'Reilly, and it works well. It is still batch fire. The JB4 is batch fire, so all 6 injectors just fire off at the same time, but with the engine churning over like it is, the fuel just makes its way there. The thing that I didn't like about the AIC was it had no safeties, and when I first saw the sales pitch on the reflex, I thought, oh yeah, this is going to be good. This is going to be the JB4 for the next century. And it's not quite there yet, but I've got it on good word that it's coming. Everyone's going to be running reflexes soon. I can feel it. In fact, sell your JB4s now. Does anyone buy a JB4? Yeah, basically the CAN bus integration, which has worked from day dot, I think, with the... Where are we? Let me get the right harness. This is going to get messy. You always need more hands when you're filming. Okay, so this is the main harness that connects to the car, and you can see we've got a twisted pair here, and twisted pair normally means data's being sent over it, and it is CAN bus. So the reflex, when they were first announced, they were always designed or always sold as a CAN bus integrated fuel controller. But to this day, they still don't work on the N54s, but again, it is coming. MHD+. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about it. In fact, everyone go and comment on MHD page. Let Andrew from 0 to 60 test the new MHD. I saw a request on Spool Street, and they're like, no, we don't want any testers. I'd love to be testing the MHD+. Anyway, MHD+ should have full CAN bus integration. There's been leaks on April the 1st. MHD did their anti-lag video, which I'll put up a little clip of it here. And it looks like MHD Plus for the MSD80s and MSD81s is going to have anti-lag, CAN bus integration for the reflexes, and really take this whole setup above and beyond anything that a JB4 could do. So we're going to have safeties, we're going to have better logging, and I'm really excited about it. Going through the wiring and all that sort of stuff. In fact, let me see if I can pull it out. So you might notice that's something interesting. We have a cam signal connection, we have a T-map or the pressure sensor connection, and we have a crank signal connection, where when you wire in the JB4 port injection, well, the JB4 I guess does have access to it, but it doesn't use it. But when you wire in the AIC port injection, you literally only connect it to boost, because all it cares about is, are we making boost? Yes, we are. Are we making more than 14 PSI? Yes, pump some fuel in. In fact, it does use RPM as well, but it's a very basic way of adding fuel to the engine, where because this is sequential injection, it's paying attention to cam position, but it's so that it knows which cylinder it needs to be firing, and it's going to give it a much more accurate spray of fuel. I've been reading and watching a lot of videos on tuning, and injection timing can have a significant effect on how a car will run, in particular cold starts. I'll put up a video from a new YouTuber that I've been watching for a couple of weeks who did it recently on, I think it was a Trans Am, but I'll put a link below to his video. It's worth watching, and it explains injection timing. He is a DIYer, and it was just good to watch him realize something that I guess all the big boys know. You guys might enjoy watching it as well. I do like his stuff. Anyway, back to it. We're going reflex. We're going reflex, and it's going to be amazing. I'm going to actually get this installed, and I will film all of the key parts on the install probably tomorrow. It's 3 p.m. in the afternoon now. I'm going to edit this video and then go and get drunk. I'm still sick, so I figured the alcohol will help clear all the sinuses. And yeah, I think this is going to be a next level setup. As soon as we have CAN bus integration with the reflex, it's going to be more than the JB4 ever was. And from what I've been told, Ken has been playing with reflexes on a few cars. He's now switched all of his personal cars over to reflex, and even something that we've been dealing with. It's not really an issue, but the fuel system on the Flowmax car come from O'Reilly, and it will support basically 12 or 1300 horsepower. So when we get on the gas, we'll see 100 psi fuel spikes with the Flowmax car. It's just got a lot of fuel getting down to the fuel rail. The problem is it doesn't need that much. So the DME will see that we've got 100 psi, and then I think the DME throttles back the main fuel pump, and then you end up with this oscillation between 60 and 100 psi. It's safe, but obviously the injector pulses are not exact, because you will flow more fuel with the same injector pulse at 100 psi than you will at 60 psi, and it's just not great. We're talking batch fire. Is it going to make a difference? Probably not. But with this system, with the sequential port injection, much more accurate injection timing for each cylinder, because essentially right now we're going to be able to squirt the fuel in when the valve is open. The fuel is not going to be sitting on top of the valve, getting messed up and all that sort of stuff. It should go in when the valve's open. It should get into the combustion chamber, not necessarily cleaner, but in a better state, ready to be burnt off, not bunching up on the valve and then waiting for the valve to open. It should be a lot more efficient. Still port injection. I can't wait I can't wait for it. Should be good. Where was I going? Ah, yes. It's very hard having a conversation with yourself. Basically what Ken was saying, he uses the rail pressure to then PWM control the secondary fuel pump to give it a consistent fuel pressure. So then your injectors are all getting a consistent amount of flow, and it leads to a more accurate amount going into the engine. I hope that made sense. It's been a long day, and my nose is blocked, and my ears are blocked. Guys, the other thing, I haven't actually got it here, but I have also ordered a solid-state relay to run my secondary fuel pump, and just on Facebook Marketplace, I've also found a radium fuel pump hanger. So the fuel system on this is going to be well over 1,000 horsepower capable, and it's still going to be a pretty budget system, actually. So I'm looking forward to sharing it all, and I'll show you how we've set it up, and hopefully Ken won't mind me sharing how he's doing everything. He's put a lot of time and development into getting a reflex to work, and I think that's probably been one of the big issues with the reflex over the last 18 months they've been available to the public, understanding what you can do with them, because they are not just a fuel controller. They are really a microcontroller with inputs and outputs that you can manipulate to do whatever you need to do. They are not locked into just doing fuel injection or only doing fuel injection based on certain parameters. You can use rail pressure to control it. You could use oil pressure to control your fuel injection. Like it really leaves it open to a bit of fruitful thinking. All right, I'm going to end it off there. Let me know your thoughts. Please comment below about why port injection isn't as good as direct injection. I love hearing these arguments. Never from anyone that's ever made any power. But I ended off there. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Please don't say I'm over 50. Catch you tomorrow.